Oh, well, it's not great, is it, Kev?
No, it was an atrocious performance, I thought, in some aspects for Chelsea against Tottenham. I thought they lacked conviction, lacked any kind of belief, lacked any kind of physicality. So sometimes with Chelsea, in years gone by, even when they haven't played well, there's a bit of grit about them. And it was just very, very tepid. And they haven't got any kind of attacking threat. You can see some of the patterns, and there are some good moments of individual play. Joao Felix had some nice moves, but it's not clicking at all. And there doesn't seem to be any genuine confidence there whatsoever. That's understandable because of the run they're on. Oliver Skipp's goal is brilliant for Spurs, but the way it came about is atrocious, really, because you've got Kepa spills it, then could easily then claim the ball, but they panic. Enzo Fernandez, who I think in general is playing okay for Chelsea, then whips the ball straight to Skip. He's too strong for Joao Felix. It's just all a bit of a mess. And I do feel for Graham Potter because I think he's trying to do the right things. He's clearly working hard on the training grounds. His reputation's at stake here. I think he's being let down a little bit.
Okay, let's sort of try and work out how you sort of deal with this situation, because I mean, if you're positive, you can say, all right, well, they're writing off the season now. They're clearly not worried about the Premier League. The pressure's off. They're just going to start learning these patterns, coming up with these scenarios, working out how to shape this team. So next year they can attack the Premier League. If you're the most positive Chelsea fan from the outside looking in, you can sort of make a case for that being what is going on. Graham Potter accepting the heat's on, third successive defeat, 2 wins in 15. They've scored 3 goals in 10 matches in all competitions. 3. They've scored at home 13 goals this season. Bournemouth have scored 12. Away, they've scored 10. Leicester have scored 21. Look, I know last week Graham Potter said that he had received death threats to his family and it had affected his mental health. So how, as a journalist, do you look at this situation? How do you deal with it? Because you can't not criticise Chelsea for their performances. Statistics tell you that they're obviously not playing well. Do you now, Crook, bearing in mind the information that Graeme has given us, do you now temper your criticism because of the fact that you are feeling that it has an effect on his mental health and the family at large? Or does he have to accept that criticism is going to come when they're playing in the way they are? It's a very difficult balancing act and a moral sort of dilemma, isn't it?
Not really. Listen, obviously death threats are overstepping the mark. It's an absolute disgrace, anybody who's gone down that road. But I think as journalists, we have to be critical because you've mentioned the statistics. We've seen the performances. I don't really understand it because I looked at the Chelsea 11 yesterday and I thought this is a good side. This is a side that is more than capable of going to Tottenham and getting a victory. They never looked like winning that game. One shot on target up until the 70th minute. The goals that Tottenham conceded were poor from a defensive perspective. At the moment, Graham Potter is a manager who is finding this job too big to handle. And if Abramovich was still there, he'd have been fired 3 times over. I think he was in charge of any other club in the Premier League, not just in the Big Six, but any other team in the Premier League, he would have been fired. This is not going to work for Graham Potter. And it's laudable that the owners want to change the way the club is run. They want to stay patient to their project. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and admit we've made a mistake. And if they don't, I fear for Chelsea.
Why are you so sure that it's not going to work? Kevin, can you make a case for it changing and things falling into place?
Yeah, I can. Because I think some of the issues that are there now have been there for a long time.
Scoring goals, certainly.
Yeah,
scoring goals goes about 18 months.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And even when, and you know what a big fan of Thomas Tuchel I am, I think he's a terrific coach. But even at his height at Chelsea, were they scoring loads of goals? No. He just managed to organise them. They were defending well. They became a very good cup team. And they managed to get through in the Champions League and win it. But in the league, they weren't scoring freely. They don't have a goal poacher who's going to get 15, 20, 25 goals a season. That might come. But it's interesting that they poured all that money into the squad, didn't actually bring in a goal scorer, which is really quite extraordinary. I think with Potter, he does need time. But it's an almost impossible situation in some ways because what you've got is you've asked a coach who is notoriously a project coach who needs time, didn't just click his fingers and it happened at Brighton. That took time. You've asked him to come in with no pre-season. You've given him a load of new players. You've asked him to take over a club in complete flux, change of ownership, change of style, complete change of idea. And you're asking fans to come with the club on that journey. And a lot of them have failed in their duty, I have to say. Not necessarily all the match-going ones. I think there is a difference and a kind of distinction to be made between a lot of the people who go to the game.
I'm not sure there is, Kev, having been at the Southampton game.
Of course. And of course, but that is a very extreme example if you think about it, isn't it? Because, if you lose at home to Southampton, that's horrendous, isn't it? But they made
nice of you to go to a game,
game.
Actually, Crook, bearing in mind you're usually in a TV studio doing nice going or something like that.
This is unbelievable. I was saving your backside.
We said when Potter joined, we felt this wasn't a good fit for the reason that we're going into now. If this was going to work, it had to be seen as a long-term deal. The fans had to stick with that. And I just don't think a lot of them are. And I just feel like an opportunity is going to be lost here, because I think they will probably bin him if it gets worse before it gets better, especially if they go out of there. I know they want to stick with him, and I think they should, but I just wonder if that pressure will become intolerable. So it's a laudable idea. Will they see it through? I think they should. I'm not sure they will.